Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, co-host Jack Mangan. Jack, how we doing?
Good evening, sir. Doing well. Excited to talk about this one. Tough slate of games recently. Better than expected, perhaps. Looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, we're up to 5 points now in this gauntlet with one to go before the Winterpause. Been nice to end the Hinrunde on a nice note, on a positive note. But yeah, not quite a victory Monday. Almost feels like I feel kind of cheated a little bit in a way. But yeah, well, we got a lot to talk about. So we'll definitely talk about the game that was against Dusseldorf at home. We'll talk about how some of the players felt after the match and did any of them stand out in the game. We'll talk about that. Yuri Mulder had some comments about the game afterwards. We'll maybe talk a little about some center back news here about two center backs. One maybe not starting as much as he thought he was, and then is there a side effect of the Kies van Wonderen success? Is it maybe another person we're talking about? But Jack, let's kick things off on a little somber note. Our boy Guido Burgstaller was injured in Vienna, so he plays for Rapid Wien in the Austrian league, and he was attacked. So I'll read a little bit of the story. It's a really quick story here. He goes, very bad news to report out of SK Rapid's last home game of the season. Guido Burgstaller was the victim of a physical attack in the presence of witnesses at the weekend and suffered serious head injuries. The 35-year-old from Carinthia was attacked by an unknown man in the center of Vienna and suffered a fractured skull and a fall caused by a brutal blow. Burgstaller was immediately examined and treated in a Viennese hospital. He'll be out for the next few days. Won't be able to play for several months, it seems like. Yeah, that's a crazy story. Gets attacked by, I assume, a opposing fan or maybe a home fan. I don't know what the hell happened, but he was attacked in broad daylight. It wasn't like after the game. It was just out in public. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if there were additional details we could find that out regarding, like, whether that was like a failed mugging or just some random person that was mentally unwell or something and lashed out, or what the situation was. But that's, yeah, pretty terrifying stuff. And sounds like, it was more than just sort of a mild scuffle. Obviously, like, skull fracture or whatever, and going to the hospital is, I mean, like, that can go south very quickly in terms of, like, potential life-threatening injury. So glad that he's supposedly okay and hopefully makes a quick recovery. It seems like he would have to be out from playing duties for a little bit longer than just a couple days. And I think he's gonna be in the hospital for a couple days, but like that could probably be the end of his season potentially. I don't know what's going on, but that's a crazy story, and obviously we wish him well. So
Yeah. So depending on how serious it is, if it's fractured skull, you would imagine it'd be a couple months. But like you said, probably a couple days in the hospital, and then he'll be released, and then slow recovery from there. Like Eric says, that's nuts. Like, what the hell? You don't think that's going to happen? It can happen to anybody, obviously. And Guido Burgstaller is also one of them. That came to my attention just because Schalke retweeted it, and I was like, what's going on here? And so yeah, it's interesting. Crazy story there. But I wish him the best, speedy recovery there. So. All right, back to Schalke and the game against Dusseldorf. Obviously, 3 games into our gauntlet were not bad. 4 points. Dusseldorf at the time going to the game, they were top 6, top 7, within like 2 points, 3 points of first place. So a result obviously would have got them in a good standing. Always going to be difficult against us. Yes, it's a home game. Jack, it seems like during this run, but maybe most of the season, like our home performances have been subpar compared to our road performances. Would you agree, or how would you feel our home performances have been of late?
Actually, off the top of my head, I don't even know what our record is, one versus the other, so I'd have to check before I just make a gut decision on that. But I mean, look, I think as far as the second division goes, certainly Schalke has one of the best home field advantages that you can possibly have in the second division. I mean, the Veltins is obviously a great place to watch a game in general, but when you think about the volume of support and whatnot, that other teams just can't compete with. Sometimes even in the Bundesliga level when we're up there. So you would hope that would have perhaps a larger impact than sometimes it does. But we've also seen situations where that energy can be like toxic at times if there's too much pressure on the club, and sometimes it's nice for them to get away from those lights. I don't think we're at that situation right now at all. But you wish it would be a little bit cleaner in the home form.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming off obviously a win against Paderborn, you would hope to we could keep the momentum going. Looking at the lineups in this one, start off with the road team. David Kovnacki leading the line, player I'm very familiar with from Serie A. Then you got Van Brederode and Johansson behind him. In the midfield, you got Ayoha, Haag, Sobotka, a name we all are very familiar with, Marcel Sobotka, and Fredriksson. And in the back, you got Seibert, Hoffman, and Oberhoff with Kastenmeier in goal. For me, David Kovnacki is a guy I'm very familiar with, a decent striker, good skill set previously with Sampdoria. And then obviously Kastenmeier is a pretty decent goalkeeper with that. Now, Dusseldorf is a team got to be worried about because they don't give up many goals. They're near the top of the table all season long. So team, you got to just be worried about that. Like the Kaiserslautern match, like they didn't give up much, and that was my big worry that we wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of your shout-outs. Also, Van Brederode, he's a pretty shifty player.
Yeah.
And fortunately, weren't punished by him, but almost were actually a couple times. Yeah, interested to see what you think about the Schalke lineup, though, and some of the wrinkles there from last game.
Yeah. So almost I guess a pretty identical lineup to what we saw last week. So we had obviously Hecker in goal, back for a bullet on the right, Schallenberg, Kaminski, and Merkin, Seguin and Bachmann in the middle there with Aiden, Karaman, and Antwi Adie on the left, with Silla leading the line. Because this is a 4-2-3-1, but it's like a 4-3-3 or some variations of that. I like that the consistency. It obviously worked for us last week, so keep up with it. For me, Antwi Adie on the left, I think he's good in a sub role, but from a starting position, I think he's almost better suited as a box to box. I mean, I don't know. At least that's what I remember seeing him at the beginning of the season, or at least when he first joined us. I was like, okay, that seemed like a good position for him, but out left, he's okay, but not as impactful as Younes.
Yeah, I mean, that was my question. Was like, I know we saw him go off in the last game, but like he's not injured or anything. He was on the bench and available, so I thought it was interesting that not only did he not start, but he also wasn't used amongst the subs. Maybe it was a tactical thing, just whatever reason didn't like him in this game. But I feel like he's been so influential in possession that it's surprising that we just didn't see him at all. But Antwi Adie, I thought actually had a very solid game. I understand what you mean positionally in terms of like where do we want him the most, but does have good pace. Obviously, did show a willingness, I think, to get some crosses in and whatnot. And so in terms of how we were playing, I didn't have a huge issue with it for the most part. And actually, there was I think within the first 3 minutes of the game, Schalke had a really good counter-attacking opportunity with Karaman centrally, and he had Antti Ajwe, who was like on top of it and was begging for the ball to get in behind, and it just didn't come, and then Karaman didn't do anything with it. And so some body language right off the bat there. But I'm curious to see. I mean, we haven't seen a ton of him in a starting role, I feel like, this season overall. I don't know how many times he has been in that, but I thought it was interesting for him to see him from the get-go. And he played most of the match. I think he came out at some point, but it wasn't before like the 60th minute or anything. It was probably like after the 70th minute, I would think. So good shift from him.
Yeah, it was interesting. He came off in the 75th or maybe later than that.
Oh, is that okay?
Hamach, and I thought Hamach immediately go to the right because he's more of a right-footed player, and Hoyland would be on the left. But no, they kept him on the side, which is an interesting wrinkle. It seemed to have worked, I guess. So whatever, I'll take it. But yeah, it was overall a good game. Kororo says, would be too good to be true if we would have won against Fortuna Düsseldorf. But I'm happy with the 4 points in 2 games. I hope we will fight again in the next game against Elversberg, who are now top of the table. This lineup was, I'm glad to see consistency for first and foremost, first in the defense, but also just in general for the starting 11. I think Antwi Adie has been absolutely serviceable so far. I
think it's just funny looking at this lineup. If you would have shown this lineup at the start of the season, just partially in terms of the players that are being selected, and partially in terms of the shape, where Bachmann's playing, the fact that we have Schallenberg and Kaminski as the partnership, it's Heckerin and not Thormund, it's Aydin and Antwi Adie as your wingers. It's very interesting to see how it's turned out. But the one thing I will say about Aydin too is we talked about the consistency last week. I don't think it was an atrocious game necessarily, but nowhere near what it was the previous game.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what we have to keep an eye on. That's why I was not getting too excited last week after that one. But
yeah, absolutely. This game started out very well. I think within the first minute or two, first minute and a half, Silla tried to go for a ball from midfield and try to score. It wasn't really the greatest shots, but hey, he tries it, right? And then a minute later, Karaman, that counterattack you just talked about, Karaman should have passed it to Antiadia, ended up taking it himself, got saved by Kostenweier. I thought the first 10 minutes, we looked very scrappy, played with a lot of pressing, and it seemed to make Dusseldorf very uncomfortable, which was making me happy because the team that's top of the table, you want to make them as comfortable as possible. It's what we did to Paderborn last week. So a good start, I thought, to the game.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I think we had more possession in the second half than the first half, but there were definitely like long spells where we were very much in control of possession. And once again, and that's the one thing I really appreciated about Van Wonderen since he's come in is pretty consistently we have that advantage throughout the match, or at least like a good advantage for at least a significant portion of it. And I think particularly when there's issues in the squad and other things that are happening, that can help paper over some of that because you're just not exposed. Like once again, I was talking about last week about how often over the past couple of years when we've had bad Schalke teams, we've seen them, chase ghosts for 5 minutes, then they get the ball back and it's 2 passes and then we're defending again. It's just you can't build anything that way. So once again, like the possession shape and those sorts of things really good. Dusseldorf I feel like just completely took the middle of the field away, which is not an unusual thing to see, but like really just sort of like speared that, and we were operating on the edges. Bachmann was really kind of the only guy a lot of times in build up who was sort of central, and he was kind of frozen out, I thought, of the build up for the most part. Overall, so it was a lot of, once again, working those side angles, everything. But I mean, I thought pretty competitive start and like reasonably effective even doing that.
I completely agree with you on that midfield shot where they kind of froze us out, because I feel like as much as Seguin and this libero role is doing well for us, at times I feel like he stays too deep and doesn't come up to help Bachmann out on the attack, and so you get Bachmann by himself, but they've got it to the wings. They try to play to the wing play. I did see in the game where typically our left sides are bread and butter. Right? We usually do our give and goes, everything on the left hand side. Usually it's Younes and Merkin. But in this game, we saw a little bit more of Aiden and Bullet trying to do that same thing, which is good because you need to have that balance, because otherwise teams are going to shade you to one side and freeze you out. But I thought we were doing a good job early on with the counterattacks as well. Like, we had a little bit more possession, but when they had chances, we would counter immediately. I liked how that was going. 13th minute, Bachmann got the ball to Seguin, kind of kickstarted out to Karaman out wide. Silla got a shot off. It was saved. But you saw that Karaman and Silla were active early, especially Silla. Silla seemed to be in the right places. It just missed that last touch, Again, in the, what was it, probably like 10 minutes later on 20th minute or so, another counterattack. Antiade coming down the left-hand side, crosses the ball. Kostenmeier makes a save, falls to Aiden right there, and he kind of gets a fluffer of a shot that goes right back to Kostenmeier. Makes a save again. But it's that counterattacking that you were seeing, which is effective, I thought.
The one thing I will say about Antiade is I think there were some opportunities for him to play some balls on the ground in the final third, and he kind of consistently was playing him in the air by the keeper. A couple of them were pretty close, so they weren't necessarily all bad balls, but I think he could have diversified that a little bit, and there were some other options available for him. But once again, the consistency with which he was getting into those positions early in the match, I think was positive as well. Aideen, not a good shot attempt from him. That came out to him in space, and he kind of knocked it into the ground. I thought he had a decent amount of the goal to shoot at. I know he wasn't totally set when he was coming for it, but would like to see him have a better shot on target there, because we know he's got a good leg, and he can rattle off some on target shots every now and then. So that was disappointing.
A few minutes after that, that's where the kind of good interchange between Aiden and Bullet happened, where Aiden has been playing a little bit higher than Bullet has, and what you saw as the balls, Schalke's possessing the ball, Aiden had some good movement to kind of free himself, to kind of give him that opportunity to go give and go with Bullet, and the defense tried to close in on Aiden. He got it really quickly. The Bullet gave it right back to him. Gets out there, gets a ball in the box. Ultimately, it was saved by the keeper, but when the keeper trying to play the ball out, the pressing again, and Silla steals the ball and gets a shot off. That pressing continually kept them on their heels, and they looked confused. And I wasn't used to this kind of as many shots as we were getting in the game, and opportunities we were getting, just based on the possession and the turnover, or the pressure, I should say. They just seemed like they had no answers for it. It seemed like.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why this, despite it being tempting to try to call us a victory Monday because of how bad we've been, and once again another good performance against a good opponent high in the table. We just left way too much on the pitch in this one in terms of our finishing. A lot of chance creation. XG was great in this game. A lot of shots on target. Just some. I mean, I want to give Kastmeyer credit as well, but like this is one I think we actually may regret, unfortunately, which kind of mars what should be a positive performance and sort of another point of consistency for the team over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think I forgot who said it in the Discord, but they said like if you just look at this game without knowing the context of it, it's a great result, 1-1 against one of the top teams in the league. But watching the game, you're like, we let that one slip, didn't we? And it's exactly what you just said there. Kuroro, I see your question in the chat. We will be talking about that later, so hang on tight. Hang on tight about that. Moving on, there was a play, I don't know, almost towards the end of the first half. Probably it's like 30th minute or so. We had a corner kick. We lose the ball. It was really, I think Merkin had the corner kick. End up losing the ball, and they look like they're going on counterattack. And what our fans love more than anything is just hustle from the team. If you're not going to get the ball, fight your ass off to try to get it back. And Seguin is hustling back as heck. I mean, it's only Kaminsky, I think, back there, and Seguin is hustling back, catches up to the attacker, and then ends up knocking the ball out of bounds, and the crowd goes nuts for that. And that's what we talk about. That's why people love Bullet so much, and some of these youngsters and Gruger, because they're hustling nonstop. And you like seeing Seguin, who's typically high up on those set pieces, hustling back to try to catch up, because one-on-one against Kaminsky, I'm not going to necessarily back Kaminsky to stop that, 9 times out of 10. So good hustle there.
Yeah, agreed. Good set piece delivery from Seguin over the last couple weeks as well, by the way. But Seguin was definitely working hard in the first half. I actually wanted to talk about that for a minute too, because I felt as though I wanted your opinion on this. I mean, there's obviously things in build-up shape sometimes where we get our fullbacks pretty far up, particularly like Merkin on the left-hand side, shading over there, and so then you end up with sort of your two center backs, arguably more in sort of the right or left back positions or whatever with Seguin centrally. But like there were situations where there was more of a back five in build-up at times, and that almost took Schallenberg and Kaminsky out of the game in build-up. Kaminsky, I think, did a better job over the course of the game at actually pushing forward a little bit into midfield and providing a different option. Whereas, I think if you look at the passing numbers, for example, obviously Seguin's gonna have the most passes between him and Kaminsky and Schallenberg, but between Kaminsky and Schallenberg, there was a massive drop-off. Schallenberg just wasn't involved in the game, I thought, in that sense. And so it kind of makes you wonder to some extent, and sometimes in these possession things, are we really is there a way to get more bodies forward actually and provide more options? I understand kind of why we've been doing that some extent from a stability standpoint. And there's other reasons for it, but I don't know. I thought that was there were times where he was running back and forth along the back line, kind of looking for an angle, and you would feel like he would have to exert less effort in theory if he could actually use some of those players around him, but there's not enough spacing. That makes sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think last week and this week is a stark difference in how the buildup was, right? So in this game, as you mentioned, often Seguin would drop back into the middle of the back five, if you will, and Schallenberg move up to the right, and sometimes they would switch. But like you said, it was Seguin and Kaminsky, with all the ball, and Schallenberg kind of played out of there. What we saw last week, why it worked so well, is because when Schallenberg was back there, Seguin was pushed up. Kaminsky was pushed up a little bit more in this game, but Seguin was pushed up, so he wasn't getting in the way of Schallenberg. And then when Seguin went to the back, Schallenberg pushed up. In this game, you saw both of them kind of staying really back there. Maybe they were trying to play the team wide. Obviously, with the back five, they were really trying to stretch out Dusseldorf because they were so good in the middle. But it didn't seem effective for Schallenberg. Like you said, just played out of the game, really was ineffective in the build-up, and I thought that hurt us, and it made it easier, frankly, for Dusseldorf, because, like you said, they kind of zoned in on Bachmann, and they had to find other avenues to get out wide and get the ball up the pitch. So yeah, that definitely hurt the build-up there. So maybe it's just a wrinkle for this game, hopefully, because going forward, you'd like to see a little more fluidity between. I mean, especially Kaminsky and Schallenberg are both good passers, and you got to take advantage of that. Yes, Seguin is the playmaker, but he can't get in the way of either of those guys to be successful. It's only going to stall us more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I do think that Kaminsky over the course of the game did get forward sometimes. He actually had I think 3 progressive carries and had a number of carries on the ball. So he was trying to drive into the midfield a little bit at times, and was also there off the ball, providing an outlet and kind of helping linking up, particularly Merkin and Antuiaji down the left a couple times, and one of those actually led to a shot attempt at one point. But yeah, I agree. I think there were issues with it this week that didn't exist last week necessarily, in the same way.
And as Kuroro says, you can't really criticize any of the players, honestly, because everyone played their butts off in this game, trying to get us the win. If he says Häcken, didn't look that great, maybe you got to give Hoffman another chance at some point during the season. There was a little scare in the 31st minute where Dusseldorf kind of cut us apart, and David Kodnowski got the ball to Van Broder, whatever his name is, and he scored a goal. Luckily, it was offsides because Kovnacki was offsides. But it was a scare. It was a good wake-up call, too, because I think we kind of reorganized after that, I thought, and got out of the half 0-0. So
I think he kind of bailed out Aydin on that play, too, because I think Aydin was the one who was supposed to kind of be covering that edge and was just kind of walking around watching that play happen. So that was poor. But, it was the initial ball before the assist pass that was offside that unfortunately bailed us out there.
So a lot of missed opportunities in that first half. I felt good that it was 0-0, but I felt bad because we missed a lot of opportunities. In particular, Musa Silla, I thought, had a lot of chances where, like, in the 6-yard box and didn't put it away. I mean, possession is just slightly in our favor, 52-48, but shots 10-3. I mean, that was a big advantage for us. Again, second week in a row, we had a big first half.
I forget if you already mentioned this opportunity, but there was one that something got, I think, played sort of in the air to the middle of the box. And it was knocked down by like a defender or whatever, like into space right for Musa Silla, who at that point was like onside and behind the back line and had a one-on-one with Kastenmeier.
Yes.
And I'm like, once again, and like, look, Musa Silla ended up scoring, nice header, like, whatever, but like that wasn't good enough for me, in my opinion. Like, I mean, if those are the opportunities, if we're gonna actually like get results against the top half consistently, your expensive striker in a one-on-one behind the keeper has to put a better shot on target than that. It was just kind of like side-footed right at the keeper. Like, just put your laces through it, man. Like, put it away. So that was a little bit frustrating, but like I said, ultimately, redeemed himself later in the match. But yeah, just way too many missed chances across the board, and it wasn't just Silla.
And I think if it was at the beginning of the season, Silla would have knocked those in. His form isn't quite there right now. He's still scoring, but in the beginning of the season, he was banging like braces at a time. And in preseason as well, he was just started the season so hot, and it kind of cooled off since then. But that was a great opportunity missed there. Overall, good first half. I mentioned the 10 shots in the first half. 6 of them were on target. So like, it wasn't like we were just taking shots and missing. Like, no, we were actually getting good shots off. Kastenmeier just had a lot of big saves in the first half. Poor shots at him, but I digress. Get out second half, I thought we continued. I felt like we continued with the good pressure and winning back possession really quickly. And a good example of that was, I think, like just before the hour mark, where Schalke's pressing, Bullet intercepts a ball that's going to a Dusseldorf player, and then takes a shot. It's an okay shot from distance, but it caused a turnover, and it was like it just continued. But when you see that kind of pressing, when we've seen it in the past by us, it seems like at some point we tire significantly, and it's just a big drop off, and the other team just takes over. I didn't see that in this game, and it was good to see that we continued on the second half. But sometimes when we get that break at halftime, we just don't continue the way we did. And it seemed like, at least to start the game, we were starting off fairly consistently in the second half, I thought.
Yeah, and look, it's not like we didn't give opportunities to Dusseldorf and we didn't like get away with a couple things. They created some chances in this game too, but I agree. I thought it was a pretty consistent performance overall across the two halves, and that's better. I mean, even to the beginning of the season, like you said, where it's like the first half will just be abysmal, and then we're out of the game, and then maybe we have a better second half showing, but we're like, we're down 2-3 goals in the first half, and we're like, what are we doing? So like, to be able to put in the consistent, 45-minute periods over the last couple weeks, has been more promising for sure.
Now, unfortunately, in football, when you don't take your chances, it comes back to bite you in the 62nd minute. Ball over the top. We're playing a high line, and Kovnacki, it's him, it's Merkin, it's I forget who the second Dusseldorf player is. Bad play. Kovnacki gets it 1-1 against Häcken and scores the goal. And like, man, we did all that good in the game, and they score on us in a cheap thing like that. I mean, why are we playing the high line like that? I don't know if it was Merkin or Aydin or whom left him on side, but it did not look good, that goal for us.
I mean, I don't even know if I want to blame almost. And I mean, I guess you have to blame somebody. I don't want to blame that because like that play came out of absolutely nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like there was good pressure being applied in their own half. I think on their right back, who was being sort of like
yes,
marshaled towards the sideline with no options, and he just booted it upfield, and it somehow got like just in behind the back line.
yeah.
Yeah, you said that just the players were kind of going at it, and like the three of them with Merkin somehow, it squirted forward and into a one-on-one and deflected it in. So yeah, super cheap goal. And yeah, not even a clear like I don't know, not the most egregious defensive break. I don't know. You shouldn't allow like a goal off of that situation. But it's tough for me to look at that and really like single out any one person in particular. So just super unfortunate.
Yeah, and it seems that we've got over the years we keep getting beat by the over the top ball, so it's like, oh god, again. But yeah, I mean, it was a good play ultimately by the right back to get it to Kovnachki, and yeah, he put it away. So kudos to him, I guess. Good response, I thought, by us. Continue with the pressure, continue to be methodical, I guess, and taking their time, patient with the ball, and eventually the pressure again paid off where they end up clearing the ball away. It gets only to Kaminsky about midfield. He quickly gives it to Seguin, who makes this deft pass in between two guys, finding Merkin, and then Merkin makes even a better pass with the outside of his foot to Antwi Adie on the far left, crosses the ball in the middle. Silla's by himself, scores the goal. Great goal. Seguin and Merkin were great, but great play overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, Seguin continuing to be influential. Clever side foot sort of diagonal from Merkin out to the wing. Antuiagi there in space, ready for it. Solid ball. Not going to credit either Schalke player too much when there was just no marking taking place. But I mean, that's a goal that Dusseldorf's going to be, I think, kind of annoyed with. Pretty poor. Silla was wide open, but much better header from Silla because he had a header opportunity kind of earlier in the game that, I mean, it was defended, obviously, that one, but like you could argue that it was a pretty good ball and he didn't really time it correctly. But no mistakes about that one. I think, obviously, a just reward for the effort that had been put in over the course of the match. But, how often does we watch games where we say, like, you got to put some of these chances where you're going to come back to regret it? Because, like, that's why football is a funny game sometimes. You can have 18 shots on target. You can force a goalkeeper into 9 saves, and then the other team can score a goal on a long ball that was hit under pressure, and it's 1-1. I mean, like that. So, yeah, you just have to be a little bit better. But, I mean, if you're trying to do takeaways from this game, obviously it's that significant number of chances created against strong opposition, and that's happened a couple weeks in a row now, which is good to see.
That would be Antwi Adie's last contribution to the game. Good way to end it on, right? Good. Finally, one of his crosses was put in a place where the keeper couldn't get it, and Silla puts it away. Medhender says, "Greetings from Germany. I love your show. Keep up the good work." Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, remainder of the game, it didn't seem like we're playing for a draw, which is good because against a good team, you cannot just rest on your laurels. You have to continue to push forward because that's what got you there in a good position. It was good to see that we did that throughout the game, and I wasn't sure if we were going to get one. And then, of course, in stoppage time, ball just drops to Schallenberg in the 6-yard box, like point blank with Kastenmeier. Shoots it right at the keeper. It's like, oh, come on, dude. We could have won it. And
and maybe if he had more touches in the game, maybe if he had been more involved. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, but yeah, so I mean, like, that's the guy's been played out of the game, and then the chance at the end falls right to him. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that kind of summed up the game where, like, we should have had it that close and gone. But overall, good game. We were wondering in the Discord what was the XGs and like that, because it seemed like Schalke had a high XG. Sure enough, they did almost 3 in this game with XGs. Dusseldorf with the 0.83. That was probably with that over the top ball that went over there. 10 shots on target, so we had 4 more in the second half. Like you said, we had a lot more possession, but didn't get as many shots off in the second half. Possession ended up pretty much the same as the first half, 57-43. A lot of passes. Silla had 8 shots in the game. And a lot of them were saved, unfortunately. And then Bachmann ran the most in the game, and Seguin had the most duels won. So overall, decent performance. Like I said,
yeah, it was Bachmann just running around the midfield trying to get open for a pass constantly. And possession is what was just happening.
Yeah, that's 100% exactly what happened. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, if you go into the game, you said we're going to draw Dusseldorf 1-1, you take it all day, right? But watching the game, how it played, how it unfolded, and the opportunities we missed, um, it kind of stings a little bit, right? Because we should be talking about a victory Monday today. Like, yeah, Corona said we had two 100% chances. We did. I mean, we had a lot of chances we should have scored. Karaman as well, but it hurts today a little bit. And I think it's a good thing when you play a good team, you don't get the win, get a draw, and you are angry about it. It's
Yeah.
better than where we were 2 months ago.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't long ago. I remember we were talking about this stretch of games, and obviously it's not over yet. We still have Elversberg, as you mentioned, before the Winterpause kicks in. But that 5-game gauntlet or so far has gone better than expected. And finding form under the new manager, I think at the right time. Maybe you're almost worried about the break, you know what I mean? But at least,
Yeah.
as long as we don't have some sort of calamitous performance against Elversberg, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we can go into the break feeling much better about things than perhaps we would have 6 weeks ago, 7
Yeah.
weeks ago,
Yeah.
and with some momentum and some cohesion and ready to attack the second half of the season. And once again, I think at this point it's tough to imagine, us going on any sort of run unless the form of a lot of teams just kind of all just sort of plateaus a little bit and equalizes out. But certainly, I think there's every chance that we can finish, top half of the table somewhere. If we keep this kind of performances up.
Yeah.
And once again, there's reasons structurally to think that that's possible. It isn't like, oh, we've had 3 or 4 kind of like whatever performances where we just knocked in a couple set piece headers or whatever, and we come out of there with like a result. Like there's actually been no, I mean, there's been some structural changes and things that we've that you can actually see demonstrably outside of whatever the specific goal total is in a match that leads you to believe that, things are improving to some extent. So, hopefully, there's another transfer or two. There's some more stability at the back, and, we can attack the second half and make something happen.
4 takeaways for me from this game. I didn't get to do it. I didn't get to do a pre or post match reaction just because I was sick as a dog this weekend. But my 4 takeaways, I thought Etuiadier, despite not being in a natural position in the left wing position, taking over Yunus's spot, I thought he did pretty well for himself. Obviously got the assist on the lone goal that we had, but he was involved a lot. Yeah, his crosses could have been a little bit better, but he's constantly involved, was up in the rush. I felt he did good. I thought Derry John Merkin, despite that goal, played a good match overall. That pass was exquisite, I thought, to Etuiadier for the goal. But overall, just, continue doing the things that we like to see from him, the positive side from him. Bachmann, I give him like a neutral rating just because he wasn't involved as much as we were hoping because of that freeze out, that he wasn't really getting help from his teammates. But when he was involved, the times he did get the ball, he did look decent. He did set up Silla on that one shot backdoor that Silla should have scored, and had some good passes to kind of break out of ruts. But yeah, overall, like ineffective. And then Musa Silla, good game. She needs to put the ball away. I got 1 goal, but should have had probably 2-3 other goals. I don't know. So I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. And Karaman, I think, once again, in the first 3 minutes, living off the glory of the last game and being like, I'm not going to pass this. I'm going to take this myself. And then, anyway. No.
I am Messi.
Yeah. No, but those 2 guys, both Silla and Karaman, obviously, as we've talked about, have, kind of carried the goal scoring this season. So, and Silla came good in the end. Positive takeaways.
Speaking of Silla, he says on his goal and celebration. So the celebration, I figure he's having a baby or something like that, and sure, his wife is, or his girlfriend's pregnant. His wife is pregnant. Sorry, wife. He talked about the game. He says he's excited that he scored a goal, but he said I really should have scored at least 1 more goal. He said I should have finished the chances in the half-hour mark better, and Florian Castemeyer reacted well, like he did several times during the game. It was very unlucky when the ball hit the bar and when the post hit the post in the 80th minute. So he admits that he should have done better in the game. But again, it's better to be angry at a 1-1 draw against one of the top teams in the league versus getting blown out like we did against Kaiserslautern or something like that. So
that is correct.
Yeah. Other news: Paul Seguin, he made the kicker best 11 this week. Good performance with him. Again, he is our playmaker. When he's on, he he spreads things out. Like that goal happened because he found Merkin with a nice play, and that he led him to that pass, and Merkin did the rest. But yeah, he had another strong game. Again, I agree with you that he kind of froze Schallenberg out of it with the positioning and the build up. And again, it could have been what the coaches told him, but Schallenberg was hurt because of that. And who knows, maybe we would have gotten another goal or two if we figured that out a little bit better. But Seguin had a good game, I thought.
No, yeah, absolutely. Engine as he has been recently. Very good.
Yeah. Good hustle in the game as well. Several players did. Yuri Mulder, he says, I can see development in this team is made as well as establishment of a way of doing things. The boys are full of motivation, and we all want to keep improving day by day. The development doesn't happen overnight. However, it's a longer process, but I believe we are on the right track. And I think I can't disagree with this because we have seen it's been slow under Van Wonderen, but we have seen development, it seems like. It seems like there is a methodology to his madness, both defensively and offensively, and it's taken a while, but we are starting to get better defensively, I think, Jack.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, just because a couple against Hamburg, 3 against Kaiserslautern, a couple against Paderborn.
Yeah.
Could have had more than one against Dusseldorf. So that's still the area that I think needs to improve a little bit. But I agree. There haven't been as many of the sort of the shocking defensive mistakes for the most part. The goals last week were getting beat over the top a couple times and behind, stuff like that. But it's not the sort of the calamitous whatever, like a goalkeeper not coming out and making contact on a set piece or something. So yeah, we'll see. I just still think we need to talk about the center back situation there and some other things.
Segue. Let's talk about center backs, Jack. Lately,
it's like I knew the show rundown.
Lately, Kaminsky's beginning to start over Kalash. Schallenberg, I think, is if of the three. Schallenberg is definitely going to be in there. The question is Kaminsky or Kalash. And lately it seems to be Kaminsky. And I am strangely comfortable with this decision, Jack. It seems like, I don't know if it's Kalash has fallen out of favor or the game plan that he's trying to implement suits Kaminsky better. I mean, thoughts on this? And then obviously we obviously need someone in the winter transfer market, but thoughts on how this center back situation is shaping up at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about it. I've mentioned it a couple times on the pod tonight already. I mean, I think we need to try to go out and maybe make another signing, get some depth, because some of these other players that we brought in you just haven't seen them. You know what I mean?
I know.
There's guys that are in and around the squad in theory that were going to be in the summer when we brought people in, and they're just not part of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's surprising that Kalash is the odd man out, especially when you have a guy like Schallenberg, who's not even necessarily a center back as his natural position that's beating him. That's not what we were looking for out of Kalash when we signed him. But I think particularly with Van Wonderen, I mean, I think Kaminsky just makes more sense stylistically for what Van Wonderen was trying to do. He's also less exposed because I know it's still technically a back four that they're playing, but it rarely feels like that. You know what I mean? In terms of the pressure that's being applied to him and those sorts of things. So, I thought the last couple of weeks he's been, I mean, once again, he got beaten over the top last week, so he had some mistakes defensively. I'm not saying those don't exist, and I'm not saying that's not a concern, but I think he hasn't been in as much of a position to get exposed horribly as he has sometimes, and once again, he adds things in possession. You see it every game.
That's the big difference, I think, yeah. And someone brought it up on Twitter or something like that, but they said, if we're going to back three, why doesn't Kalash be in the middle with Kaminsky and Schallenberg on either side? Then you have Bullet and Merkin still as the wing backs, and I guess that could work. But you almost have to take someone out of the midfield at that point, and who do you do that? And Bachmann, Seguin, and Schallenberg almost have to on the pitch to this point, just because 2 of the 3 are really good passes, and then Bachmann's is a workhorse and he's good in the air and he apparently can score goals every now and then or assist.
Bachmann's a good passer too, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. No, you're right.
No, I mean, actually, there's a funny moment. This is just this is completely anecdotal. It's one moment in the match, but there was a moment when I actually was noticing how frustrated he was, where he couldn't get a pass. He was running around with his hands out, and sometimes to be fair, sometimes it was there, and they just didn't want to try to force that ball in between a couple guys, because it's a lower percent shot. But then the ball ended up coming to him a couple seconds later, kind of near the final third or kind of in between or whatever, and he got closed down immediately, and one quick touch, bombed the ball out to like ID and out to out on the wing. That was like lasered, like I don't know, just so you could tell, even though he hadn't been getting the touches and hadn't been getting played in as much, like he wasn't losing focus. And when he actually did get it, he was just like, boom, and like showed some. This is the kind of thing I've been talking with Eunice this season, right? Is like the balls look different out of certain players' feet. You know what I mean? They just do.
Yes.
And actually, Bachman has been one of those guys where sometimes he'll play one of those that actually, it stands out. It comes across on TV, I feel like.
There was a play in the first half where where the ball, one of the few times the ball came to him in the middle, closed down immediately, and he did like a back heel flick that kind of led a counterattack. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, there you go. Okay, that works. But it's funny, we talk about defenders here, and it's funny because I don't know how true this is. I think come from Build or whatever, but it's from Vaz. But they're looking for a cheaper version of Maurice Jens. Apparently, it's like, okay, good luck with that. I thought Maurice Jens was pretty cheap as it was, but I don't know what we're gonna do with defenders. As the chat is saying, Cisse and Sanchez haven't come good. Vazinski, we don't see him anymore. It looks like maybe he gets on loan, maybe gets sold in the winter. Who knows? So we got to figure something out defensively because it's not working out. But I will say this, that to kind of allude back to what Kuroda was saying earlier, to kind of end the show, the run that we have been on over the last, month or so, it's been interesting. And before I get to that, he mentioned Tim Hooglin. Tim Hooglin got promoted from the Knapenschmiede to as a co-trainer for Schalke on November 4th. Now, how has Schalke done since his insertion? Now, obviously, Van Wonderen has done a lot to improve this team, and all this is the ringleader of all this. But when Tim Hooglin joined on November 4th, this is after the 0-0 game against Munster, I guess it was. Who was it? I'm going to open up here. We played Ulm 0-0. Tim Hooglin joins, and then after that, we proceed to win against Regensburg, drew against Hamburg, lost Kaiserslautern, but then we beat Paderborn and drew Dusseldorf. So the question that Kuroda asks, hey, what's up, Owen? And what I'm asking is Tim Hooglin, it was a quiet signing, and, some people missed this when it happened, but, like, could he be, he's helped simplifying things for Van Wonderen. Van Wonderen doesn't have to do everything. He's got other guys he can rely on, like Tim Hooglin, and that's what kind of helps spearhead this transformation all of a sudden with the boys. What do you think?
Well, if it comes from, Norbert Elgert's staff, he's got to be good. But
there you go.
It's the people that missed this appointment. That was me. I'm people. But
more than
it's an interesting thought. It's difficult to speculate without being on the ground over there. But I mean, if there's noise that's starting to come out to that effect in terms of like, hey, he's been a really impressive presence. Either just in terms of like personality or accountability tactics, whatever the situation is. There's coaching staffs for a reason. We like to in soccer. There's always narratives. And we're very much in that business to some extent, guilty of that in the podcast space as well. But there's always narratives around like individual figures, right? It's like it's the manager, but the manager has a whole, group of people around him that have responsibilities or should have responsibilities, ideally, in terms of training sessions, in terms of match preparation, in terms of all kinds of things. And so, to the extent that you can, surround a guy, especially a new guy getting parachuted in midway through the season, with somebody like Hooglin, who, former player, has been in the, from the time he was a youth player for us, wasn't he too? Didn't he come through the Knapenschmiede, or am I making that up?
I feel like he did. He definitely played for us.
He's spent a lot of time at Schalke, so like he knows what he's doing over there. It's like, I can't imagine it's a bad thing,
Yeah. Kuroda says, some say Tim Hooglin is a shadow coach, but I think Keese has also improved in his speeches. So his teams are in English now, so he's gone away from that German, I guess. He's like, you know what, fuck it, let's just talk English. We're going to do well. Maybe that's the key, right? Which also makes it easier to come across. That could be, it's all about communication. And, eventually he's like, you know what, we should speak German here, but important speeches are going to be in English. Sorry, guys. So, and they're obviously used to English with Gerard. So, that's funny. Maybe that's the whole key there. So anyway, that's all I got for tonight, Jack. Not much of news, but again, should have been a victory Monday. At least we got a draw, but we're disappointed by that kind of day it is. So next game, Elversberg. It's another Friday game. I hate Friday games, but last one was successful. Elfersberg, top of the table. Good defense. We played them earlier. I feel like this is the first time we played them, but it feels like we played them because we played them last year. Good team. Well, last year they came from the Dritte League up to the second division, finished top 10. They're very disciplined, good defensively, can score goals. Obviously, the top of the table for a reason. So, a team we have to be on our toes about.
The one thing I'll say about them,
All right,
overperforming their XG more than most teams.
this is true.
Could mean, hey, very efficient finishing, like could be deserved, you know what I mean? But like whenever you see something like that, you wonder if that's gonna come back to earth a little bit over the course of an entire season. So something to be optimistic about. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, obviously. Pretty solid defensive team. I'm not saying that we have twice as many goals conceded as them, but we're not super far off, So
Close.
Yeah, Elversberg's got one of the better goal differences I think in the league, if not the best. It's right up there.
Yeah.
And
Hamburg.
So deservedly at the top of the table. And but yeah, hey, confidence from the last couple games, hopefully, and hopefully we can get another result, whether it's a point or three, headed into the Winterpause.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm shocked. This Cologne started so slowly, and now they're second on the table. So, I guess good for them. I don't know. Anyway, that's it, Jack.
The only team in the second division that's averaging less than 10,000 home fans per match,
that's
according
crazy.
to FBref. So
that is crazy. Not everyone is Schalke, Jack. Not everyone could be like Schalke. Oh, all right. So let's get on out of here. Good way to end the show. As they say in the chat, let's hope next week is a victory. Monday to end the Hinrunde and go to the Winterpause. So,
yes, sir.
Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter.
Nice. I am at R_KHARMAN. Chat, thanks again for joining us tonight with all the comments and questions. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. Join our Discord. Check out the video links. We include the link there. And then follow us again everywhere. Subscribe on YouTube if you hadn't done so already. If you're listening on Twitch, follow us there. And enjoy the game. It's a Friday game. It's going to be interesting. Let's hope for a positive end to the Hinrunde. All right. For Jack, I'm Richard. We'll catch you guys soon. Glück auf.